sorry.
Okay.
So,
Me? I'm Bruce Davies. What was the other question? Well, we've been in church 21
years.
Yeah. We have 2 great daughters, 7 grandchildren.
2 years. I'm Janine, his wife, of 52 years. 1999 was a pretty big year for us. Bruce had been diagnosed with bowel cancer and we were in between churches. So I started coming here at the end of the Edwards' ministry and been here ever since. My parents weren't Christians and we lived in a flat at Mossman and just after the war, but you always went to Sunday school. There was a lady in the bottom floor of these flats that we lived in who went to Mossman Baptist Church. So she took Mum along to church and she became a Christian, and then obviously Dad, and then I would have been about 10 or 11 when we then moved to Colorado Plateau. And Colorado Plateau Baptist Church was up on top of the hill. All the roads were dirt. You had this one sealed road around Colorado Plateau, and that's where we all went to Sunday school there. We had a ball, we loved it. And I then made a commitment, and so I would have been early, probably teenage, and this is where we met Vic and Glennis, so we've been lifelong friends. But it was in the 1959 Billy Graham crusade that I decided that I had to just make a firmer commitment of where I wanted to go. And
my mum believed in God and sort of prayed with me each night. Thank you, God, for everything, and God bless all the sick people in the world. That's what I got from the day I was born. Never went to Sunday school. There was always a belief in God. My dad was probably more agnostic. He ended up with alcohol issues, and he spent 3 years in Japanese prisoner of war. So he came back with issues, and I grew up with that. But went to school, got the intermediate certificate, went to work. Worked in the bank, and that's where I met Janine when I was about 15 and a half. Or 16 maybe. Took me about 12 months before I had the courage to ask her out at the pictures.
To the movies. We went to see an Elvis movie.
Elvis movie.
He was an old DY surfer.
Yeah,
on the longboards.
On the longboard. Janine was invited me up to church after 12 months of listening to sermons and I remember Don Crawford. Bruce said, "You've been coming to church for 12 months, how about you come around and have a chat?" You know? And then I guess he talked to me, half convinced me but he sort of led me through a prayer of commitment at that meeting, and it was a bit of a rush. It was all am I doing the right thing? You know, I had sort of second thoughts, but and then I became really searching and interested. Started reading a lot, and all, you know, that convincing that I was on a right path for my life. And here it is, you know. Mm-hmm. 60 years later. So it's been you know, a great life. There's been some rocky issues along the way, but I guess my walk with the Lord now has probably never been closer. Yeah, it was a bit of a shock.
You were 54?
54 years old. Found out it was a positive diagnosis, and so I had to look forward to a fairly major surgery procedure, and that was had to wait 6 weeks for that. So you're wondering what's going on with your body. But I was working in a drug and alcohol education unit. I was the admin accounting person there. All round, got a lot of support from many different people. You know, it was very it was really a community-based support where I had Roman Catholics praying for me, I had atheists concerned for me, I had, and I felt, and you know, tremendous support from the family, support from Janine, so yeah, that's the one thing I learned, that the importance of the support we can give each other at a time that we're, you know, when we need it. It was a complete cure. I didn't even have to have chemo. They got the lot.
And then 9 years ago I had breast cancer, so we both come through a cancer journey, and we were well and truly entrenched in members here. So Leon called me around one evening, and I had the elders anoint me with oil, lay hands on me and pray for me. I think that was about the night before I went into surgery. So I had to have 6 months of chemo, so that was a bit of a shock. But anyway, we've come through, and you really feel the presence of the Lord with you. One of the scariest parts was the morning of the surgery, and you've got to go down into the bowels of the Mater Hospital. And I can just remember being in this really creepy room, and I just sort of lied there, and I just felt the real presence of Jesus just taking my hand and guiding you through what is a really lonely sort of situation. But you get through these things. I don't know how you do without having that presence of the Lord with you. I think when you're older, you can look back, and looking at the world at the moment, it's sort of a lot of problems out there, aren't there? You know, your racial issues very much at the moment. And so I like to sort of look into those issues and see how we can be challenged as Christians with something like that. And I've never liked the thought of Christians as we are the thought police, and you know, we put in all these rules, and everyone has to sort of obey what we say. So just looking at a Christian ethical, where we fit in, and what can we do, what part of these sort of things can we be?
Looking at the world at the moment, it can be, yeah, well, it's anxiety causing. It's I think we're all feeling the pressure, but I keep reminding myself the underlying truth that God's kingdom will actually come to pass on the earth. So I've got that underlying foundation that I can come back to and say, well, we've got a whole lot of strife at the moment, but the world's gone through these situations in the past, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I love science, and I'm a climate change believer. I think, you know, the world's heading in the wrong direction at the moment. But in spite of all that, I think God's kingdom will actually happen, in spite of me, in spite of us all, in spite of the trouble the church gets itself into. That promise of thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It's a great thing to fall back on. Under the current situation.